With the recent release of Marvel's Black Widow, fans were able to get some insight into Natasha's early life as a Russian spy, and the many horrors that she encountered in the Red Room program. Natasha's childhood was nothing more than a cruel facade, dripping with secrecy and deception, and throughout her life, she was forced to learn combat, firearms training, deception, espionage, seduction, linguistics, and many other deadly skills that an assassin may need. But as tragic as her fictional story is there a real-world precedent for academies such as the Red Room? Take a seat, watchers of the Marvel Multiverse, as we teach you about some of the premier Soviet and Russian espionage academies, and tell you the stories of some real-life Black Widows throughout history. During the height of the Cold War, the Soviet Union employed a number of these academies across Russia and Eastern Europe, where their agents were trained very much like the Black Widows of the Marvel Universe. One of these many academies is known as the Moscow Academy, which has been shrouded in secrecy for the past 3 decades. Even though the doors closed and the institution shut down in 1991, among their notable alumni was none other than Vladimir Putin himself. These academies would teach their operatives a wide array of deadly skills, much like we see from Natasha in the MCU. They would learn intelligence and counterintelligence tactics, as well as investigative skills. Common curriculum included hand-to-hand combat, firearm training, and technology-based training, including the use of gadgetry on par with classic James Bond films. These operatives would be taught how to use shoes with tiny cameras embedded within them, a tie that would include a hidden lens, many handbags or purses which carried concealed microphones, and perhaps strangest of all, a lipstick that doubled as a miniature handgun. These skills were just the tip of the iceberg, however, as the KGB allegedly established what they called American Town in the Ukraine, which served as a replica of a standard American town, hence the name. Here, agents would consume American media, watch American movies, they would practice their English, and drive American cars on American roads, with American traffic regulations. They would practice the necessities of living a life in America without arousing suspicion from their neighbors, workplaces, or friends. They would Americanize themselves to the point of being undetectable. Among other skills and talents, certain operatives would undergo what was known as honey trap training, which was, in a basic sense, mastering the art of seduction and manipulation. Male agents who underwent training in East Germany were known as Romeo spies, and were compared to the male counterparts of Marvel's Black Widow agents. Their assignments were to seduce and use women of influence out west during the Cold War era, though these so-called honey traps were used by both male and female agents. One notable female operative, Violetta Sena, could be called a real-life Black Widow agent. In November of 1985, Marine Clayton Lonetree attended the annual Marine Corps ball, where he met the captivating Violetta Sena. Lonetree was a well-regarded, highly respected Marine who was entrusted to the unit that provided security for the 1985 political summit between none other than Ronald Reagan and Mikhail Gorbachev. It should go without saying that being entrusted to guard the lives of the 2 most powerful men in the world at that time is not only an honor, but an incredible responsibility. Despite the clear policy regarding fraternization, Lonetree and Sena pursued a relationship nonetheless. As their relationship progressed, Sena was able to peel away the layers of Lonetree's loyalty, and with the help of Soviet intelligence operative Alexei Yefimov, they were finally able to break Lonetree down into becoming a friend of the Soviet Union. Shockingly, Lonetree turned over classified, incredibly confidential documents, including, but not limited to, the floor plans of the embassy where the summit would be held. He was then transferred to the embassy of Vienna, where he would later turn over the blueprints and floor plans of that embassy as well, before confessing and being charged with espionage by the officers of the Navy Intelligence Service in the winter of 1986. By February of 1987, he was court-martialed, charged, and sentenced to 30 years in federal prison, becoming the first member of the United States Marine Corps to be charged and convicted of espionage. His cooperation in the matter was able to get his sentence reduced to 25 years, of which he only served 9 before being released in February of 1990. 1996. Another such Black Widow operative went by the name of Ellen Romatesh, who worked as a Soviet spy in the East German Embassy in Washington, D.C. She was able to infiltrate the mysterious Quorum Club as a waitress, which was a private club held on Capitol Hill in the Carroll Arms Hotel. The Quorum Club, founded by Bobby Baker, was a club reserved for only the highest level politicians, lobbyists, and government officials to come, socialize, drink, play poker, and be without responsibility for a few hours. Much like many Black Widow stories, Ellen captured the attention of multiple powerful congressmen, senators, and lobbyists in that club that night. Finally, in 1962, after spending a considerable amount of time undercover, Bobby Baker eventually introduced her to none other than John F. Kennedy himself in the twilight of his presidency. Baker recounted the time he spent with Romatesh as a quote. He, Kennedy, sent back word it was the best time he had ever had in his life. But that was not the only time. She saw him on other occasions. It went on for a while. Once Vice President Lyndon B. Johnson caught word of the incident, he informed dear friend and director of the FBI, J. Edgar Hoover. The FBI immediately took Romatesh into custody and questioned her about her past, ultimately concluding that she was likely a Soviet spy. This information was then leaked to the press and was caught onto by journalist Courtney Evans, who reported that Romatesh worked for none other than Walter Ulbricht, the leader of the Communist Party back in East Germany. Many accounts report that it was none other than J. Edgar Hoover himself that leaked this information to the press, and as the story circulated, more and more press junkets got their hands on the information and printed accounts of their own. Eventually, it got to the point where LaVerne Duffy, a committee aide and notorious Senate investigator, was sent at the behest of Robert Kennedy to silence Romatesh before the press could acquire a statement or information regarding her relationship with the president. Meanwhile in D.C., President Kennedy met with Director Hoover, Democratic leader Mike Mansfield, and Republican leader Everett Dirksen to discuss the scandal. Though the content of the meeting was never disclosed, an agreement was arranged so that Romatesh would sign formal documentation denying any involvement with any political official, and in exchange, she would return to Germany and the incident would be completely forgotten. After the collapse of the Soviet Union in 1991, these organizations and academies were shut down, and the KGB was split into two factions, with the FSB inheriting domestic affairs and becoming a sort of counterpart to the US's FBI, and the SVR as the successor of the International Intelligence Affairs, and many of the same teachings carry over to the recruits of these organizations. If the Black Widow program existed in real life, it would have likely been under the FSB or the SVR's jurisdiction, seeing as the KGB was dissolved when Natasha was just a small child. An academy known simply as the Institute serves as the premier espionage institution for the modern SVR and FSB agents. Many of the same skills are taught, though they are updated and continually evolving with the pace of the modern world, now including fields of cryptography and computer science. In 2010, a modern Russian operative by the name of Anna Chapman was discovered spying in the field of Manhattan real estate, and though it centered mostly on corporate espionage, this led to the discovery of the largest international spy ring since the end of the Cold War. Chapman, formerly known as Anna Kushchenko, conned her British husband into marrying her so that she could acquire a UK passport. Though her exploits didn't rise to the level of spying on the nation's president or acquiring classified information on US embassies around the world, she still serves as an example of modern-day espionage in a world more similar to what our MCU's Black Widow may have been involved in. Though the Red Room program as it is depicted in the MCU and in Black Widow's solo movie doesn't exist, these Black Widow agents aren't without merit or historical precedence. But anyway, my friends, what do you think of this fascinating aspect of history? Do you think these organizations served as a basis for the Black Widow's comic book origins? And how do you feel that maybe the story of Black Widow may not have been that far-fetched at all, and that some of these quote-unquote Red Room academies may have existed or still could exist out there somewhere? This is very much a different video, and so we wanted your opinion on it. How do you feel about taking a look at more historical precedents that affects the MCU, and how the MCU may be inspired by historical events? Would you like to see more videos like this talking about history as it relates to Marvel? And if so, if you could also share this video for others that may be interested in Marvel and history, that would really be appreciated. If you like it, we're happy to produce more videos. As always, my friends, thank you so much for watching the channel. Your support and viewership means the world to us. Hit that subscribe button to assemble and join our team, and have a great day.